live? Are we live yet? Are we sure? Huh. Hello. Mhm. Bane with goblins. Oh my god. Yes. Hello. No sound? Oh, man. Yep, I don't hear any sound out of you. Do you sound out of me? Nope, no sound at all. Nope, I hear me
What?
now.
You should hear him. Talk.
Da-da. Uh-huh. Yeah, there's sound out of me. I can hear
Okay.
me.
Fuck, we'll do it live. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. Okay, so again, Streamlabs fucking hates me.
Mhm.
Hates me,
Still
apparently.
no sound from you. Still no sound from you.
No sound from Marooks. What? I'm literally
Yeah.
watching the button go.
Go go up t go up to your audio mixer in the upper right, the gear icon in the
Oh
upper
my
right.
god, I fixed it.
Streamlabs really does hate you.
I
You've had more problems than
fixed
I've had
this
with
shit.
Streamlabs.
I fixed it.
Yeah.
It says my mic. I fixed it.
Okay.
So I don't know what to tell you. Oh my god. Oh my god. No sound.
Yeah.
God, you stop. Talk to them. You talk to them. Why don't you explain
Me?
what we're doing while I figure out
Oh my
what's going
god.
on?
What are we doing today? Okay. So welcome to Nana and PepPep. Waking up with Nana and PepPep. We are gonna. I gotta turn my audio off because I mean hear myself echo. That's all
We
fun.
can hear you. They said we can
We
hear
can
me.
rear you. Oh yeah.
They said they can hear me.
Okay. Yeah, they can hear you now. Yeah. Welcome to Waking Up with Nana and PepPep, where we give you technical difficulties free of charge. Sometimes we call this trauma. Uh-huh. There's a delay. We might just move you over to OBS. I don't know what's going on with Streamlabs. That's sucking.
Hold ya. Y'all need to hold y'all's horses. Now I can hear you. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
now yeah, we're I think we're good now, maybe.
I don't know anymore. Okay. Let's
Yeah,
try.
they can hear us.
Let's try this again. There's a big lag in chat. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
That
there's
means,
a big
see,
lag.
Roogs, you
Yes.
need to be a little patient and hold your
Slow your
horses till we figure
roll.
it out.
Yes. Stop listening in and put it in your headphones.
Okay, so let's try this again. Hello, and welcome to
Mhm.
Waking Up with Nana
No.
and PepPep, where Streamlabs freaking hates me, apparently. Yay.
Mhm.
This is I am a Roogs from the internet. We've said that twice, so it's fine. I'm a Roogs from the internet, and this is my co-host, Sean, aka PepPep, also known as the producer, whichever you prefer, however, however
Call me
you
whatever you
seem
want.
fit. Yeah. um, the Waking Up with Nana and PepPep is mine and Sean's podcast about growing up in the Southern Baptist Church and our deconstruction of our religious faith and reconstructing ourselves as decent human beings, and or at least attempting to. So
Mhm.
here it comes. Here's the disclaimer.
Oh,
Hopefully everybody can
give
hear
us
it.
the
We ready?
disclaimer.
I totally want to
Yeah, I
rear
think we're
Sean.
ready. Yeah, oh, totally. I mean, I can understand that. Yeah. Mhm.
As long as you pull his hair and call him daddy. I don't know. Okay, so
Absolutely.
here here's the disclaimer. Sean and I are not licensed therapists. We are not counselors. This is just our own personal experience of growing up in the Southern Baptist Church. We are not
Mhm.
um, dissing anybody's faith. We are not bashing anybody's religious beliefs. What we actually think faith and religion are very beautiful things when done in a mentally and emotionally healthy way, and that's very important to us. And yeah, I don't even know, well, all the technical difficulties like
It's
really.
kind of threw you off your game this morning, today, hasn't
It
it?
did
Yeah.
throw me. It did
Yeah.
throw me off. Okay, we don't hate religion. We're not licensed anything. This is just our trauma and how we are dealing with it.
Hmm.
We sometimes refer to the church as a cult because God knows we wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't. So,
Yeah. There's reason for it. There's the way too many
there.
commonalities there. Yeah. There you go. That is the
There.
disclaimer in a nutshell.
Fuck.
Yeah. Hmm. Oh my god. All right. So what are we talking about today?
That's your job.
That's my job. That's my job.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah. See, problem is my segues like kind of suck. So I'm trying to work on my segues. Um, Today, I'm just gonna say it. Today we are talking about friends, friendship. Everybody needs a friend. Some people need a friend. Others just need friends.
I have several friends.
Friend. Yeah, but you keep your friends in a box. So I don't know if that's a.
And I can recharge them.
Anyway,
They're the gift they're the
man.
friends that keep on
They,
giving. Like,
they, okay, this is no. This we're going in a different direction. Let's bring
okay,
it
all right, all
back.
right,
That's a
sorry,
whole different
sorry, my bad,
podcast.
my bad.
We're talking about friendship. Because it doesn't matter whether you're introvert or extrovert. It doesn't matter who you are. You need friendship. We are social creatures to a certain extent. So we all need friendship. Um, what we're talking about today is the way in which that friendships or the idea of friendships and how we're supposed to act with our friends. How what we learned about that interaction from the church, and um, though we've talked about this before, things that we don't necessarily learn some of these things directly from the church, from being
Mhm,
like a sermon. Sometimes the things that we are taught are things that were taught by the family, but the reason we're taught them is because that came from the church, right?
mhm,
Family unit is just reciprocating that stuff. And some of it's society, because especially in the South, a lot of society is based upon Protestant ideas, Protestant beliefs. And so it all comes back to what the church taught and how we were raised.
mhm.
So friendships, you and I have been friends for a long time.
We haven't very, very long time.
Very long
Well,
time. Yeah, we were
well, okay. Are we counting the in between?
the in between times. I
The in between
mean,
times?
eh,
Because
the in between times.
technically, we were friends for like 4 or 5 years. Took a
Yes.
little bit of a hiatus, and then
Little
another four or
break.
5 years. So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
feeling.
Right. We've known each other for a very long time.
Yes, we have a very long time.
Yes, we have.
Um, do you feel honestly, like I know you and I both, we are both people who and by the way, if we drop frames, we freeze. Sorry, it's stream. I have no idea what's going on with my computer. Sorry. Like you
We'll
just
fix it in post.
we'll fix it. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell
Yeah.
you. I don't know what to do. Um, I'm watching the little warning. That's why I say
Yeah.
sorry.
So the lag is going to be behind. The more it buffers, probably the more lag's going to be behind. So if you do make a comment about something that we're saying, try to include what you're referencing. Otherwise, we may not realize that it was something from like five
Yeah,
minutes ago.
sorry. I don't like I even took the electronics away from my kids so that they wouldn't be on the internet. I don't know
Oh
what
my
else to
god.
do. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, so we both, I know you growing up and me growing up, grew up in the church, and we
Mhm.
often had friends of the opposite sex. Like I know, and it
Mhm.
wasn't that whole friends to like, it was just they were friends, they were friends we had in
Mhm.
church, they were friends we had in school, like we were friends with the opposite sex. I mean I think it's because I related.
We didn't think anything of it really.
No, I never saw, like I really honestly, like I never saw the big deal. But apparently, the older I got, like
Mhm.
through my teenage years, the more of an issue it became.
Mhm.
And it became an issue, especially with my church male friends, and and just growing up through college, and even through some of my ex-fiancés, like my ex-boyfriends and stuff. It was just a big deal to like that I had these male friends. And
Mhm.
I'm like, Okay. So like I didn't
Yeah.
see the point. Like I didn't understand like what the
It
issue
it it
was.
didn't it didn't intrinsically it wasn't intrinsically a problem. It
Mhm.
didn't make it you were just friends, you're friends with people friends with. You hung out with who you wanted to hang out with. It wasn't until people told you that it was a problem.
Mhm.
It's like people had to create the idea for you that this was a problem, that you're not supposed to behave like that. And you're going, "Why?" Because that
Right.
doesn't make sense to you intrinsically. You weren't born like that. They taught you what you were supposed to act like within your among friends
Right.
because they knew best. And it doesn't make sense.
And
But
and in the church, it's very important that men were in their male friend groups and women were
yep,
in their women groups, and never
yes.
the twain should meet unless you
Nope.
plan on marrying each other. Apparently that's like the
Mhm.
ultimate, like you shouldn't date until you shouldn't date except to get married, to find the person
Yes.
to marry. You shouldn't be friends
Yep.
with an opposite sex, because that is, you are blocking the path to them finding the what?
They're God, the person that God set aside for them. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. Right?
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Apparently, I was a
Mhm.
stumbling block for a lot of people.
I mean,
I
I'm gonna let that one just sit there. I'm gonna let that one go.
You know what? It didn't matter if you were male or female. I was a stumbling block for a lot of people, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Mhm. There may have been an impure thought or two.
But the reason we bring all this up, the reason that whole the male and female is, one, because Sean and I are best friends. Like
Mhm.
we are male and female. Like we
Mhm.
are opposite sex. I also have a large opposite sex friend group.
Mhm.
I honestly, like, look at my friend group. The percentage of women versus males is very different. Like I have
Mhm.
female friends, but especially in our friend group, but the females are a lot less than the male. I mean, think of the
Mhm.
BSBN. It's me and
Mhm.
Nico out of like
Mhm.
10 of us. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just going to be, all of my interests have been very male dominated interests, and not, hey
Mhm.
Pierre, not male exclusive. I don't want to say exclusive,
Hey,
but
bear.
male
Yeah.
prominent
You you
interests.
didn't you didn't fit into the typical gender roles that the church often precipitated,
What?
right? I know, crazy, right?
Oh my god!
You
I'm
wanna play
recurred.
you wanna play video game? No. Why would you wanna play video games? That's crazy. Mhm.
So
And I in Mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I was the same way in college. Um, I had male and female friends in high school, but, like, it really started to come out more. I had a lot more female friends in college because I often would do things that I like to dance. I did guard. There were things that I like to do. I like to cook. There are things that I did that weren't male gender roles. And so I often ended up being among more females than males. And that's what happened. I wasn't trying to sleep with all of them. They were friends. That's it. But the church says that's a no. The church says that's a no no. No, we grew up, you could not do that. It was not healthy. So we learned we were taught at an early age, and some of it wasn't always taught how to friends. A lot of it was in the context of relationships. That's where a
Mhm.
lot of the ideas behind friendship were taught. It all had to do with how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to handle friends when you're in a relationship. And to me, that's where a lot of the problems come in.
Yes.
That's what a lot of governed how we acted and messed with how we perceived our friends, because it seemed like the church sexualized everything. Right? I know, crazy talk. What? Especially in the SBC. No. Um, yeah. Why can't we do this? Well, because this might happen. This might, it was
Mhm.
always it always led to, well, you can't handle your hormones. You're gonna want to hook up with
And
the
you
person.
notice
You're
it was always the female blaming too.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
I couldn't dress a certain way because it would entice men.
Mhm.
Um I couldn't look a certain way. I couldn't be friends with males because I was going to cause them to stumble. So it was my
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So we can't teach them to control their fucking asses. We can't teach them that
Mhm.
the way they're thinking is toxic, wrong, and controlling. No. Oh, I've got to be the one that be like, oh, it is my fault. I'm not allowed to be friends with males because I'm not allowed to because I'm a pretty female. That was the
Mhm.
biggest one. It was because I was an attractive female, because I was attractive. I wasn't allowed to be
Mhm.
attractive and have male friends that obviously they
Mhm.
everybody wants to sleep with me.
Yes.
Uh, so
How
everybody
dare
wants to
you
sleep
be
with me.
attractive?
Like, okay, well, even if they do want to sleep with me, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean they are going to sleep with me. And if even like,
But they wanna sleep with you, Roogs. I mean, that's enough. They wanna
I've got
sleep
a
with
list
you,
of at
so
least 4 women that want to sleep with me. So sure, okay, you don't want me to be friends
so
with
who are you
males,
gonna be?
sure, sure, all right.
You cannot have Roogs, you cannot have friends because
I
everyone
can't have
wants to sleep with
friends.
you. Yes, because
Damn it.
people find you attractive, you are not allowed to have friends. It must be a lonely, lonely life to
But
be so attractive and
okay.
not have
But
friends.
anyway, the whole let's go back to the original why we're choosing this whole friendship thing
Yes.
because it came out in the
Yes.
news this past week. So Sean, you
Mhm.
were the one that brought it up, so you
I did, oh
tell
my
our
god.
audience.
The ri Yeah, so something happened in Texas, of course, and
Mhm.
in a Baptist church, of course, and in a Southern Baptist church, of course. Oh, and it's a mega church. Um, and the part of the reason we bring this up is because this is something that what happened in the church is something that it wouldn't surprise us when we were many years ago when we were growing up at the church. But this didn't happen all those years ago. This happens last week, recently, in the last couple of weeks. And it blows my mind because this goes beyond what
I know that the
uh
chat is delayed, but that shit's funny.
yes. Y-
To be fair,
no,
John may
that's
have scared
true.
away many female persons.
That is also true. Yes. John does want to sleep with all of them. So, but he's paying, so, Um all right. So, here's what happened. Mega church in Texas came to light that a pastor was having there's going to be a lot of air quotes. I'm sorry. There's going to be a lot of air quotes because this is directly from this is what happened. Had inappropriate conversation or inappropriate messages with a woman who was not his wife. That phrase in and of itself drives me crazy. That the person had inappropriate conversations with someone who was not their wife. It was conversations over direct messaging. And there's a lot of kickers to this one. Um, the messages weren't sexual, they weren't explicit, they weren't romantic. They were just messages. They were having a conversation over Instagram messaging. But they weren't sexual, they weren't explicit, they weren't romantic. That was put out there. That was common. That was knowledge. Another kicker: the pastor, the pastor's wife, knew about it, knew about the conversation, knew about the woman. The woman's husband knew about the pastor, knew about they all knew. The four people involved knew. about the entire conversation that these people had, the pastor and this woman had. It wasn't a problem. They didn't have a problem with it. So how did this become such a big deal? How did this lead to this pastor getting dismissed on a leave of absence? Well, a friend of the woman that he was having the text with, a friend approached him at church that she.
I clicked on something. Sorry. Go ahead. I clicked
What
on
did you
something.
do?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
It's okay.
So, friend,
So a friend of the woman he was having a conversation with, or exchanging texts with, approached him and said, "I'm concerned." And here's a weird. This is just a weird phrasing that it was. The messages were disorienting to me, referring to herself. She was disoriented by the messages to her friend from him. So the people that were directly involved in this conversation, these texts, knew about it and didn't care. But the friend had a problem with it, and she brought it to him. Now, we don't know exactly what happened there in that conversation, but at some point it became known to the church elders. Oh, I hate that word. The church elders. And that's when things just blew up, of course.
Moist elders.
No, I'm pretty sure it's dry. I'm pretty sure they're very, very
Ew.
dry.
Okay, go
Like
ahead.
cobwebs dry. Like shriveled up. Yeah.
Okay, continue. Continue.
So,
About your business.
oh, there's so many problems. There's so many problems with that idea
Mm-hmm.
of him exchanging messages that his spouse was aware of and the other spouse was aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And the friend brought these thought that this was a problem. This was not appropriate. So the church elders got a hold of this. What did they do? Well, what would any good God-fearing Southern Baptist elder do in this situation? They hired a law firm. Why did they hire a law firm? Good question. They hired a law firm to have the law firm review the church's social media policy. You're like, huh? What? Yeah, remember, these weren't texts. These weren't SMS. These were messages in these were direct messages in Instagram,
I
which
have
is a social
questions.
media account. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
the elders were not happy about this situation, but apparently they needed to go to a law firm to find that the pastor violated their social media policy. Didn't that just seem like roundabout? Like we want to do something to you because we don't like this, and so we're gonna go roundabout. Really? So I, I think the elders approached him and he went, "What's your point?" Like I think he was like, "Yeah, so what?" Therefore, they didn't like that. You elders do not like when the shepherd of the flock goes to the flock
When the
and goes,
pastor has
"No."
his own mind.
Right? Yes, exactly. I have a feeling that's what the pastor did. The pastor was like, "Why do you care?" And they were like,
But the whole thing, okay, because
"Yeah,
probably
hey
gonna
guys,
read the whole article, and as much as I
just
love
about."
you, we're going to like blah, blah, blah. The whole thing is that the pastor, the pastor and this woman were having this conversation via Instagram, I think
Mhm,
DMs or whatever.
mhm, yeah,
Okay, both parties told their spouse. So
mhm,
they were open and honest about this
mhm,
conversation.
mhm,
Like, and apparently, how did this friend find this information out? So obviously the woman was open, and because there was nothing going on that
yes,
warranted secrecy
yeah.
here. Like,
It was probably a joke. There was probably a joke exchange between the two, and she screenshot it and went, "This was funny."
yes.
And the friend didn't like that. How dare the pastor have this conversation? what's one thing that I find interesting, the woman that he was exchanging messages with, it was never indicated that she was a member of the church. So if you're worried about the whole, well, he's the pastor and she's a member, there was no indication that she was a member of the church. The friend was a member of the church, but not the woman. So she's like, "Oh, my pastor would never say stuff like that."
But
That's not my that's
here's
a
the whole thing is that in the church, you're not damn that like a royal flush of coincidence in Texas in a church in Southern right? Oh, they're that far behind, but that's
Yes,
fine. That's fine.
that's fine. Right,
um
yeah, that is a royal flush.
yeah, here's the thing.
Mhm,
In the church, and I know you and I have both encountered this in our past relationships and just in growing up in general. We
mhm,
are taught to only see members of the opposite sex as marriage material. We are
mhm,
not
mhm,
taught to see them as people, and we are only taught to see their gender. And
yes.
because their gender, people's gender, especially in the church,
Mhm,
determines their roles in the
yes.
church. So
Yep.
we are taught that as a good Christian woman, I am not supposed to look seductive or sexy in any way
Mhm,
possible. I am to be subservient and obedient to any male, regardless of whether it be my dad, my husband, my boyfriend, or any male in the church. I
mhm,
instantly am second to anyone with a penis. I am not supposed to be have any type of relationship outside of I go from and I've heard several like I go from my father's house and I
mhm,
get married and go to my husband's house. And that is
mhm.
what is important.
That's the
And
transition.
how, yes, that is the transition.
Mhm.
There's no in between. There's no, I get traded for 8 goats to my husband and that is the way it is, and that is sort
Kind of
of
like
the,
property.
yeah, property, and I'm not
Mhm.
allowed to have any relationships with somebody of the opposite sex.
Yes.
And if I pursue that, then obviously I am seeking something like because I am told and I am
Mhm,
trained and I was groomed to
mhm,
believe that my value was in and all of my wants and needs and desires should come from my father or my
mhm,
husband,
mhm.
and that's it, and that
Yes.
everything that I do and everything that I am, and so if I were and I can supplement, or I could supplement what I'm missing from female friends, as long
Mhm.
as it was female, because then I was okay to have as many female friends that I want is because but
Fe Female God-fearing friends.
female God-fearing friends.
Mhm.
I'll sleep with your God-fearing friends.
Mhm.
Anyway,
There will be a lot of prayers that night.
I mean, that's fine. But and that's it. And males are taught to seek a wife, and
Mhm.
that's your ultimate goal in life is to seek a
Yes.
wife,
Yes.
and that God-fearing wife, and you're taught
Yes.
that they are the only person because they're
Only.
the single
Yes.
person that God made for you. And we talked about this in our purity culture episode
Mhm.
as well. We were trained that this person's going to fulfill all your needs and
All
all
your
your
needs.
desires and all
Yes.
your sexual,
Yes.
mental, and
They
emotional
will be everything
whatevers.
to
They
you.
will be everything to you except for God.
And
And
there's some
it's yeah, it's like this
yes.
the
And there's
triangle.
something and there must be something wrong with you. There has to be something, as this article, unhealthy. There has to be something unhealthy in you if you if you are interested in having friendships, or you look your or needs, or you have something that isn't being met. Oh, the problem is you. It's a
Mhm.
problem.
Mhm.
So you then start feeling bad about yourself. Why do I have these wants, desires, needs, interests?
But
If the other
here's
person
they
Mhm.
implant, and here's the part that is really fucked up about the church and male and female and male and female relationships is they like you said, implant that idea in your
Mhm.
head. They implant the idea that if I enjoy the company of somebody of the opposite sex, then I must want to sleep with them, right?
Yes.
Like, or
Yes.
if I enjoy their
Mhm.
company, then they must want to sleep with me, right? And then that becomes an
Mhm.
uncomfortable thing. And that's where it's completely toxic in the church is
Yes.
that they implant those ideas in your head. You would not
Mhm.
have, I would not, like my kids right now, they don't go to church and they don't get, I don't, they have friends that are boys, they have friends that are girls. My oldest daughter has some really great friends, and she's like, yeah, he's just my friend. Like, I don't, like, we don't make it a big deal that they're male or
Mhm.
female. We don't make it a deal
Mhm.
where, like, we don't implant those ideas in their head because that's what was done to us. And
There
yeah.
we're taught that in order to protect us for the children to protect us, they have to teach us these things. But what they're doing is they're like you just said, they're implanting these ideas in us. They're not protecting us. They're actually doing the opposite. They're creating this idea that this person, I must, must want to sleep with me because they're friends with me, or I want to sleep with them. Oh, I can't be friends with them otherwise, because if you want to sleep with someone, inevitably you're going to sleep with them, right? That's
Mhm.
obviously what the church is. That's how that's what carries on if you move forward that argument. It
Mhm.
so it sexualizes everything,
Right.
and so yeah, you can't control someone wanting to sleep with you. It just happens. So, just because they wanna sleep with you doesn't mean it's gonna happen. But apparently we can't control our urges and ourselves? Well, so then they're like, "Well, I mean, you may not sleep with them. I mean, you may not do that, but you're creating an emotional connection to someone. You're having an
An
emotional
emotional
affair,
affair.
an emotional affair." It's always like if they can't get you at this level, if they can't, well, okay, so you're not sleeping together, but you could be having an emotional affair with them. You're like, really? You're like moving the goalpost. That's all you're doing at this point. So,
I
okay,
yeah, like, okay, okay, okay. Like, I am not negating emotional affairs. I'm not. I'm not. But at the same time, the amount of it's the equivalent of I wear something low cut and sexy and I go out looking
mhm,
hot as fuck.
mhm,
And they automatically assume I'm out to go sleep with somebody, or I'm
mhm,
out needing validation, and I'm out needing everybody to compliment me, or I'm needing
mhm,
something. They
yes,
assume I am needing or doing something instead of what
yes,
it is I look hot as fuck. I am sexy as
mhm,
fuck. I want to look sexy as fuck. And that is
yep,
literally all it is. It is me wanting to look hot and be
feel good
hot,
about
and
yourself.
that's it. And that's the
Mhm,
point. That's like there are people who have emotional affairs. There are
mhm,
and is such a thing as an emotional affair.
mhm,
Not everything is an emotional affair.
yes. They're making the leap.
Right.
If you're friends with someone of the opposite sex, you're having an emotional affair. That's where they, and we've talked about this earlier with the purity culture, is the leaps that they go through. There's no nuance. It's black and white. Oh,
Right.
you're friends with someone. You're talking to someone. You're having a bad day, and so you're talking to a
Mhm.
friend.
Right.
Well, you're having an emotional affair. You have frequent conversations with this person. Oh, you're having no. You're friends. You're having a conversation. There's no emotional affair happening. You're friends.
And
But
it just makes sense to like, and here's where I don't get it. I guess I just don't get
hmm
it. It makes
hmm
sense to have a close person of the opposite sex, especially if you're in a relationship or married. Because
Mhm.
sometimes the male brain, as many male friends as I have, is beyond me. What the fuck are they thinking? Or especially the
Mhm.
female brain. Let's just talk about like let's just talk about that. Selling yourself short for
Mhm.
goods. Like, um
20, yes. And a few cows and a few, yeah,
an ox.
plots of land.
Oxen. Okay.
Yeah, it's an oxen.
Oxen. Um,
Mhm.
but especially a male having a female friend for
Mhm.
just to go, okay, she's acting all whacked out. I don't know what to do. Everything I do seems to be wrong because they're thinking in their in the and let's just be honest, male and female brains are just they're just made up
She has a
different.
problem and I gave her a solution. I don't understand.
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't
She
understand.
gets mad at me. Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
female friends will look at you and go, "Oh, dude, you fucked up. No, you fucked up.
Ooh, yeah,
Oh,
we
you fucked
yeah.
up.
Let
Here's
me
what
let
you
me
need to
give you an
do."
idea. Yeah. Yes. Let me give you some advice.
Let me. Oh, you fucked up. You fucked up. No,
Oh,
here's what you're going
yeah.
to say to not be as fucked up as you were about to be as you because you keep digging it. Let me stop you here. And I think that
Mhm.
that's like so many people are in, and luckily we're coming out of that society
Mhm.
view. Luckily, we're because of people are accepting more of their sexuality, being gay and
Mhm.
transgender, and gender is no longer a male female. I think that we're moving into a society now that is more accepting that gender isn't male and female. It's not binary and it's not
Yes.
separating, and I think that that's I honestly I really wish I was grow I we grew up in the same society my kids are growing up in, because we didn't.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think it would have saved me a lot of heartache. I think it would have saved me a lot of trauma of being very I had exes who it was a constant. It was a constant. Why are you talking to them? We have class
Mhm.
together. Like we have class
Mhm.
together. Well, why were like I was a music
Why
major.
are you
Well,
talking outside of class?
why were you
Why
in
are you
that
practicing
small
with
why
them?
were you yeah, why were you in that small room with them for a couple hours? Because I was practicing? Like he was helping me? Like what do you think
You
I'm
were
like
gone for like 3 hours. What were you
it's
doing? Yeah. Because as a male, when you grow up with that, it affects us differently, male and female. But as a male, when you grow up with that, and that's the expectation that you're taught is okay with you question that, and so you believe that it is your right to question that and to think that she might be doing because if she's hooking up with someone, I mean, if she's gone for 3 hours, she obviously must be doing something that she shouldn't be doing.
oh my god. And
The expect.
especially my PKX. My
Hmm.
PKX was the worst, but he was the worst on a lot of things. So, I mean, the worst ones that the worst exes and control were those that were deep in the church, because they
Hmm. Yes.
believed that they should be my entire world. And
Yes. My ex is a perfect example of that.
oh, let's
My
talk
because my
about your
ex grew
ex.
up. Yes,
Let's
my
talk
ex grew up
about your ex.
fundamentalist.
Let's talk about that
I
in friends and
yes.
opposite friends and opposite and female. Why
Hmm.
don't you talk about your female friends, huh?
Yeah, all of this I experienced. I experienced all of this. That's why the whole situation in Texas like hit me was because all of that stuff are conversations that I have been in or heard or been a part of, and things that have been said to me. Yeah, my ex grew up fundamentalist, and she was also she believed that it was the one to one, right? The person she expected me to be her whole world, everything wrapped around us. She also grew up. Not only did she grow up fundamentalist, for a good part of her life, but her dad and her stepmom. That's how they act. They are the entire each other's entire world. And so
Mhm.
she's got that demonstration. So she comes. I didn't fully understand this, of course, until we were deep into the marriage, and I'm like, I cannot be your entire world, nor can you be my entire world. I got to have friends. And so but again, as I said about college, I tend to have a lot of female friends. And so all of a sudden, all of my female friends were the enemy to her. I couldn't, it was like, I couldn't go visit, I couldn't hang out with, I couldn't, yeah.
I was
Hmm.
the ultimate villain,
Oh,
in
you
case
were.
guys wanted to
She
know. I was in
was. Oh
college
my
when they got
God.
engaged. Like, I wasn't instantaneous, but the moment she got the ring on her finger, I became public enemy number 1. Public and Sean
You
and I,
did.
like we had explained, we dated and broke up. And
Yep.
literally it was the nicest breakup ever and became
It
like
was.
best friends afterwards. We just
We were good
realized
friends after. Hmm.
this isn't working. Like, we're not boyfriend girlfriend material, but we're totes friends material. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Oh yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. And we actually, that's always been my joke is we became great friends after we broke up. That's what it took to get there. Yeah. Oh, but yes, but you were, yeah, you were public enemy number one. Even 7 years into the marriage, when we were in marriage counseling, you became a focus of that marriage counseling.
And we
Not
weren't
because I'm
even
trying.
talking. That's the
We
whole
hadn't even
thing. We
talked
weren't
for
even
7 years.
friends. We weren't even friends
No.
at that point. But that's the whole idea of, like, this pastor, they weren't even having a conversation, their spouses, and that it was is healthy. That is
Hmm.
healthy, and we want to emphasize that. Is like, well, maybe something's going on. No, or maybe they were hiding it. Their spouses knew about the conversation.
Hmm.
They were not
Hmm.
hiding anything. Now, do I think that they were sharing every text message with it? Absolutely not, because that is unhealthy. Sharing
Yep.
everything, like all your social media accounts with your
Yep.
spouse, sharing all your text messages with your significant other, maybe not, is unhealthy, because they
Correct.
deserve to have that privacy,
Yes.
and they deserve to have their own friends, be male or female,
Yes.
and they deserve to
There
have
is.
that trust and autonomy, and
Yes.
that's, but as long as they're like, hey, I'm talking to these people, and I do that with my husband. I'm like, hey, I'm talking to this, and I'll show him. Or I was like, hey, I'm having this conversation, or somebody will send me a funny meme and attack. Like, it's not that I'm hiding anything, and I don't go through his phone. I don't want to know what his emails say. Fuck, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, because he deserves to have his own life and his own friends and his own personality. And that's okay. And I think I've always been that way. I've always been that way. And I think it's stemmed from my trauma of
Yes.
being told that that's not okay. And I'm like, but
Yep.
it is. It's totally, it's just like monogamy. I don't believe in monogamy. I mean, I'm monogamous, but that doesn't mean I necessarily believe in it. And
Hmm. For
I
yourself.
think that,
Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
this pastor and his church decided what was appropriate. And the
Hmm.
church decided, even
Hmm.
though what happened was completely healthy.
Hmm.
Both spouses knew they were not
Hmm.
having a conversation that was any way romantic or explicit of any form.
Hmm.
They were having a conversation as friends, and it was frequent. They became friends. And
Hmm.
you're allowed that, as long as you are honest and
Hmm.
communicate.
Hmm. And he did. That's the things he did. They were. That's when he was approached. The first thing he said was, "I didn't think I was doing anything wrong." And that's what he said when it came to, like, who knew who. I didn't do anything wrong. Her husband knew. My wife knew. We all knew. I didn't understand what I was doing anything wrong, because he wasn't. He wasn't doing anything wrong. But the
No.
church decided that he was, and not only, and it went from them having just a conversation between friends to the elders the elders of the law firm ended up going through all of his social media accounts, all of his emails, all of his text messages. They invaded his privacy in order to figure out, well, what else is he doing that's not appropriate?
And again, if you go hunting, and especially when you're making that leap, and I think that that's where a lot,
Mhm.
especially in the way we grew up and the way we were raised in our, we
Mhm.
are taught that anything we do is inappropriate.
Yes.
Anything that
Anything.
is
Yep.
not godly or via the rules of the church.
Yes. Anything that is anything that is not transactional. Anything that has any conversation that has any emotion. That's what we're taught. If it has emotion behind it, if it's not
Mhm.
strictly transactional, logistical, that's not appropriate. What?
I love how we both had
Yeah.
the same face. We're like,
'Cause that's what happened. So that's what happened, and with me, that's one of the things that happened, like, not at the beginning of the marriage, near the end of the marriage, is, a friend and I, someone I'd been friends with for several years already, and I worked with in the marching band world. um, we got to know each other. We became friends. It was started became friends, and so we would text all the time. We'd hang out. She was also from Europe, and she was traveling, and, like, so we were talking about, like, what her experiences was, 'cause I didn't know anything about that stuff, and we were just talking, right? We just had a bunch of text messages.
Mhm,
Nothing wrong, nothing romantic, nothing sexual, nothing explicit, none of that. We were just friends.
mhm.
One day, I was hanging out with friends. We were playing tabletop, and the ex reaches over and grabs my phone, which we had discussed. Well, we have nothing to hide, which, by the way, that whole thing, I have nothing to hide so you can look at everything and anything you want, that's a load of crock. That's an absolute BS right there.
Oh,
We'll get
triggered.
in that in a minute. Yeah,
Okay.
I know. Whew,
You're like,
right?
you got,
Um,
oh, okay.
it pisses that thing pisses me off. Yeah.
Okay.
So she's looking through my phone. She's looking through my phone because we had that agreement. We looking through my phone, and then all of a sudden she slams my phone down.
Mhm,
I'm sitting here not thinking anything of it because I had nothing to hide. I hadn't had any messages. I wasn't having any explicit messages, romantic messages, nothing. I was yeah. And I'm like, "What the heck did she find? There's nothing on my phone for her to find. There's nothing." She found a message between me and this friend. That's where I said, "I enjoy talking to you." Oh no. Apparently I was not allowed to enjoy talking to someone else, a female. And that created it went from that message to I was I had to have a conversation with this friend that I was no longer allowed to communicate with her outside of our job function. This is after being married for like 10 years. Yeah, that's awful. The sad thing is when I did, because I'm trying to be a good spouse. I had that conversation with the person, with the friend, and she shook her head. Like, I expected her to get, like, really upset. She just shook her head and she was like, "I was just wondering when this was coming. I know
You know you know
I've
what's funny
known
about
your
that?
spouse long enough." Yeah.
You know what that's funny about that? Yeah, here you want to talk about some trauma. Okay, what's funny about that is
Yeah.
you had the same conversation with me,
I
except mine
know.
was we weren't allowed to talk at all. And
Yeah.
both this female friend and I had the same reaction when we both went,
Mhm.
"Okay," and walked
Yeah.
away
Yep.
because we both knew it had nothing to do with you, but
Yep.
we weren't going to stir up shit.
Yep. Mhm.
Funny,
Mhm.
it's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
mhm. So,
Oh, the trigger. He's
that's
like
the
so
kind of
triggered right
trauma.
now.
I
He
am. Yeah,
when
that's
he
some really
shuts
messed
down,
up
he's
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
um, but it goes back for me, especially as a woman and a female. It's very much like we were talking before the podcast when we were discussing what we were going to talk about as like that very mindset of like when Harry met Sally. Now I love that
Mhm.
movie. I love that movie. And I love that movie, but here's the problem with the movie is
Mhm.
that, that whole monologue he has about men and women can't be friends because the man is always wanting to sleep with her.
Mhm.
And Meg Ryan's character goes, "Well, what if I don't want to sleep with him?" And he goes, "It doesn't matter because even if she goes, well, what if she's not attractive? It doesn't matter. They want to sleep with you too." And she's like, "Okay, well, I guess we're not going to be friends then." And then they end up being just friends. And then at the end
Mhm.
of the movie, they end up falling in love and being together. Like, that is not reality. That
Mm-mm.
is not reality, but so many, and especially in the 80s and 90s when we grew up as kids, and that was the mindset. It didn't matter if you were friends with them. It didn't matter if they were attracted to you or not attracted to you because the man's always just going to want to sleep with you. So you can't be friends with a man because whoever you're with is instantaneously thinking that they just want to sleep with you and that you're not, they need to protect you or you want to sleep with them. And it's that mindset of, well, I can't be friends with a guy because he'll want to sleep with me instead of going, if he wants to sleep with me, then there's the fucking door because I have no interest in that.
Mhm. It also means you have no control. It also creates that codependency where you have no control whether they want to sleep with you or not. And it doesn't matter how attractive. You don't have to be super hot, supermodel in order for the person to want to sleep with you. Just because they want to sleep with you, you have no control over that whatsoever. So you're not just because they want to sleep with you, you can't be friends? Yes. Right?
um so yeah, and it became that whole victim again, going back
Mhm.
to the way we were raised. It is the woman's responsibility to remain chaste and pure and innocent, and it is not them.
Mhm.
It's like, so, and obviously I need that validation and I need
Yeah.
that, but I should
So
be
then you
getting that
question
from.
everything.
Right. I should be getting that from my husband or my partner or whoever I'm with at the time. My
Mhm.
sole focus should be and getting my emotional and mental support from them. And
Mhm.
again, that weighs in on how I feel about monogamy. It's like, it's not
Mhm.
possible. As much as I love my spouse, I am one person and I can't
Mhm.
provide that. I can't
Mhm.
do it. I can't provide every single sexual fantasy that he ever has in his entire life. And I can't provide the emotional support for every single thing. Now, can I try? Yeah, but I'm just
Mhm.
not. I'm one person and I'm still dealing with my own shit. Like, there is
Mhm.
only so much of me I can give. And that's why it's like, I think it's ridiculous that I should marry my best friend and they be the only person I need in my life. Like, no, no,
It and not
no.
only that, but
I don't want to be your
mhm.
best friend. You know what? I'm okay with not being your best friend. I'm okay with not
Mhm.
being married to my best friend. I'm okay with them having best friends that aren't me because God
Mhm.
knows if they talk to me, it's going to be like, no, 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 go be friends. Go have friends. Go have
Yes.
friends.
Yes. Go do something. Go hang out. Cause yeah, a lot of times because like you want to hang out, you have friends and you want to hang out with your friends, and you're like, we don't have to do everything together all the time.
Right. And
Go.
that's the way the church has taught us.
Yeah.
Once we leave our parents' house, that whole
Mhm.
thing they read at weddings,
Leave and
you leave
cleave. Leave and
you
cleave.
cleave, you leave your father's house and you join
Mhm.
this union and that's the only union that matters. That is
Mhm.
codependency and it's
Mhm.
unhealthy. And
Yep.
it's knowing that I love my spouse. I want them to be happy and
Mhm.
doing things together make us happy. Absolutely. Doing things
Mhm.
together, nurturing that relationship, going out and making those connections. Yes. But I don't think that I am capable of. He has all these other interests that I have no interest in, and that's okay, and that's
Mhm.
fine. And you go and
Yeah.
enjoy it. Go. go enjoy it. And
Mhm.
if it's like, and
It's
he used to be in the music world, like both of us
Mhm,
were, or it's male and
mhm,
female. Like,
mhm.
okay.
Hey, I bet there was some men that wanted to sleep with him, just like there's women that wanna sleep with you. So you can't be so that's the problem. You can only be friends with the same sex for completely ignoring the fact that there are probably people of the same sex that wanna hook up with your
I bet
spouse.
there are men that want to
So
sleep with him. You know what? I bet
right?
there are. I know he's in
So
the
then you
chat
can't
right
be
now.
friends with
He's like,
anybody.
hey, you know what? Swagger that, swagger that. I'm like,
Right, right.
doing a hair flip right now. I feel like he's a good
Mhm.
piece of meat.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, you double your opportunities. So
But all I'm saying is that when all joking aside, I I understand. And I think it's because I was very much that, and even if you have, you're attracted to them. Because there are people out there that you're friends with that you're attractive to.
and it's totally okay to be attracted to anyone, including your friends.
Yes. But that doesn't mean you have to act upon that attraction.
Yes.
I have urges to go stabby on people sometimes. That doesn't mean I fucking do it. Like,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
the whole teaching yourself going,
We
well, just because I
self-control.
think it, just because I have
Mhm.
the urge doesn't mean I
Yep.
do it. It's like when you have the urge to chow down on freaking a whole cake. You don't want the entire
You don't?
cake. You don't eat
You
the
don't?
entire cake. Nope.
You don't. Okay. All right. I got to
Being a
work on
friend
that
with you is wrong. I don't want to be right. Oh.
then. Right, Calvino. That's fantastic.
I
Mhm.
am totally okay with like my kids having opposite sex friends, having friends
Mhm.
in general. I'm okay with my friends having other friends that I'm not friends with.
Mhm.
I'm okay with my spouse having friends that aren't mutual friends, friends that aren't. And
Mhm.
I say this because him and I have actually had this discussion before. I am okay with that because he needs to grow and develop as a human, and I want to
Mhm.
encourage that. I want to
Yes.
encourage him to be his own person and to enjoy his life. And I
Mhm.
want to, and it doesn't necessarily mean we are, have live opposite lives. And that's the other
Mhm.
thing. It's not an all or nothing. And again,
Mhm.
that's what we're taught in the church. Either you're all
Yes.
in together or you're not in at all. And what the fuck?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah. There's
No.
no you're not taught to balance anything in your life. You're not taught to
No.
just yeah.
You hear my stomach growl?
Oh no.
Okay, good. That's what that face was. I was like,
Okay,
"Whoop."
yeah, I did. I was like, "Uh-oh,
No, you're not
something
taught
happened."
to balance and you're not
Mm-mm.
taught healthy boundaries. You're not,
Yes.
and we
Mhm.
talked about this in kink and sex. You're not taught healthy boundaries, emotional, mental,
Mhm.
or any physical. You're not taught boundaries because boundaries
Mhm.
mean that if you have boundaries, you're not easy to manipulate and control. So they teach
Mhm.
you not to have those boundaries. And so
Yep.
that's where it comes in. Well, I don't understand how you can be friends with somebody of the opposite sex and not want to sleep with them because we have boundaries. We have
Yeah.
respect. We
Yes.
have a level of this is the line, we don't cross it, and if you cross
Mhm.
it there will be consequences to that.
Yeah. See, and that's where it comes into. It's not the fault. It is completely normal and healthy to be attracted to people, including your friends. The
I'm
difference is the
attracted to
action,
all my
right?
friends.
Right.
I have
Yeah,
hot friends.
and all your
I have hot
and
friends.
all your friends.
Have you seen the
That's
BSBN? Have
BS.
you seen
The
Calvino?
BSBN is a
I
hot
have hot
looking group,
friends.
right?
I know. We have
Exactly.
whatever. Anyway, go
We
ahead.
yeah, we could all not be friends because we all want to sleep with each other, of course. But it's yeah, it's the action, and if a friend crosses that line, you set that
Right.
boundary. No, you can
Right.
this doesn't
No.
happen.
Right.
That's the healthy part, and you communicate, and then there's communication with your significant other. You're not, and just because, yeah, never mind. I was gonna go back to something, but I'll go forward. Um, yeah, you
He's
could.
triggered, so he's about to go on a rant.
All of this stuff triggers me. It does because of my ex.
Well, and that
Like
was
the
the other
privacy
thing.
versus secrecy.
Yes. Yeah, the privacy versus secrecy and all of that. And it's okay. It's
Mhm.
okay to be friends. And yes, is it great to have mutual friends, like the friends that you're
Mhm.
friends with together and you all hang out as a group and they're equally
Mhm.
your friends with my friend. And cuz I have a lot of those with my spouse. I do. I have
Mhm.
l- plethora of mutual friends and they're great
Yep.
and we love hanging out with
Mhm.
them and it's fantastic, but that doesn't mean that that mutual friends have to be the only friends. And that's the big difference, because encouraging autonomy with your partner is important
Mhm.
and it's healthy.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
this whole thing triggered Sean and I when he sent me this article, because they didn't do anything wrong. And the church
Correct.
and the elders invaded his privacy. They went in there and were on a fucking witch hunt. And there was
Yeah. Mhm.
really a social media policy, and he had to literally resign his job because of a
Mhm.
social that in a corporate setting is a hand slap at best. Is
Mhm.
a public letter going, I
Mhm.
apologize, it will not happen
Mhm.
again, something like that. But no, this man lost his job and his reputation for a witch hunt
Mhm.
that was completely unfounded. And
Yep.
that's what the church teaches. That is a very public example of what they
Mhm.
teach you, even on the lowest of levels of just a congressional member, congregation member, is
Yeah.
they teach
Mhm.
you to go on witch hunts and find something even when there's nothing, because
'Cause they're
that way, right?
exactly. Mhm. Yeah. So there's a big difference between privacy and secrecy. You're allowed to have privacy. You need to have privacy. Um, because if you don't have privacy, like with your significant other, you don't actually have trust. Some people think that giving up your privacy means trust, when it's actually the opposite. Because if there's no privacy, if you have no privacy, the other person is not trusting you because they're looking at everything.
Oh,
So there's
Sean.
actually no trust there, and that's what I dealt with.
Yeah,
She
I was like,
equated the two.
y'all see him right now? I'm like, oh, he's actually feeling his emotions right now,
I
and
am.
I'm a little scared. You okay? I'm checking
I'm good.
in.
I'm
I'm
good.
checking
I'm
in. You
good.
good?
I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
You
I'm
good?
good.
No.
Yeah.
No, but it's very true, and I'm not telling you not to
Mm.
feel that. I was just like, you were about to go, and we
Oh, it is about time, isn't it?
the red flags were on fire, and Sean was like, I'm an extinguisher. It's fine.
Uh-huh.
What why Sean, and I'm going to, so that he can take a breather like I did on the purity culture one. Sean
Yes.
experienced
Mhm.
a lot of toxic thought when it came to relationships with other people.
Mhm.
And that was something that his ex had against me. Even when we weren't talking, he respected and I respected his marriage and his relationship with her, that we did not speak for 15 years. We respected that because
Mhm.
that was a boundary that Sean set, because his wife asked him that of him, and we
Mhm.
respected that. We saw each other several times
Mhm.
and never spoke, never acknowledged
Yep.
each other, because that was a boundary that was set.
Mhm.
And that was and yet like he said about his other friend, she would often, she would often go looking for things. When you go
Yep.
looking for things, your brain is automatically in that mode of, I'm going to go find something, and it doesn't matter what it
You
is.
you start connecting dots that shouldn't be connected.
Right. It's like those silly pictures that, like, you hold up to you, it's like it's nothing, it's
Yes.
really, but
Mhm.
there has to be something hidden here, but you gotta cross your eyes
Yeah.
and, like, hold your face a certain way and
Yeah. You begin looking for evidence to support your theory being that the person is being unfaithful or whatever. And so everything you find, you use to support that. You're connecting dots that there was never a picture.
I just find it really sad that this pastor, in a normal, non-religious setting, would have been fine. Like, it
No one would
would
have batted an
no
eye.
one would have said anything, no one would batted an eye. But
Mhm,
somebody else that took offense to the male and female relationship started
mhm.
the church paid for a company, a law firm. There were hours where these lawyers and paralegals went through this poor man's social media and this
His
woman's
email and
social media
mhm,
and his
yep,
emails, and there was time and hours over something that is emotionally and mentally healthy. Now, if your spouse has an issue with you having somebody of the opposite sex relationship, then that is a discussion you need to have.
yes.
And that is definitely something I'm not saying ignore that, because I know that that's a
Mhm,
constant conversation in my house, is that
mhm,
I'm attractive. He's attractive. That's a conversation that is constantly had in our house, and that's
mhm,
okay. But you have to say what it is. I'm feeling insecure because of this. And this is how I interpret it, and that's okay. If I'm feeling insecure about something, about whatever, well then I need to own that. And I do.
mhm.
I'm insecure. Like, I don't know if I like that. Okay, but it's
That's
communication
what
and
mhm,
having that healthy communication about that.
yeah. That's what those things often come down to is are you communicating and insecurity? It's often but that with my ex, it was insecurity. It was absolutely straight up insecurity. And so there was no real conversation about that. It was all the conversation was always you shouldn't be spending time or talking to this person. It wasn't the I'm feeling insecure and this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm feeling. It was just, no, you need to change this to make me feel less secure or less insecure. And that's not healthy.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All in all, I have a bunch of male friends. Sean has a bunch of
Hmm.
female friends. I'm bisexual,
Hmm.
so the argument they want to sleep with you or you want to sleep with them becomes really null and void. Um,
It is kind of funny, yes. Because then who do
um,
you get to hang out with?
And yes, friendships can cross the line before I
Hmm.
get all of those don't at me. Yes, friendships do cross the line all
Yeah.
the time. But if friendships cross the line, and I know this from personal experience, friendships cross the line only because there hasn't been open communication between you
Hmm.
and the person that you know what I'm saying, like you and your
Absolutely. Yes.
partner. So usually friendships cross the line when you are not communicating with your partner, and I know this from personal experience, and I will openly admit that when friendships have crossed the line for me, it is because
Hmm.
I have not been open and honest with my spouse. And that's on me, because I should go,
Hmm.
I'm not getting this from you. I'm not doing, like,
Yes.
and I before it ever got to that
Yes.
point. You have to be more
The
self-aware
friendship
about yourself.
the friendship crossing the line is not the root is not the problem. Is not the root cause. Friendship crossing the line is the symptom of you're feeling a certain way, you haven't been communicating, and you could be looking for something from your spouse that your spouse isn't giving you, and maybe you've had the conversation or maybe you haven't had the conversation, but there's something there. The friendship crossing the line, that's a symptom. There's something else happening there.
Right.
That's what needs to be dealt with. That's where the communication comes in. That's what's such a big deal about this situation in Texas is that the communication between the four people involved, really two people involved, but four people include the spouses, there was nothing wrong,
Mhm. Right.
and that's where it should have stopped.
Right.
So, yeah.
But but from both Sean and I being raised in the church, we were taught that male and female relationships were just bad, just like this pastor. It was
Mhm.
inappropriate. Why is it? What is it? What I need to know how
J
men think, because really, as many male friends as I have, y'all are just as complicated, and y'all swear, y'all
Are we?
swear. Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
we?
What's like,
Are we?
what's wrong? What's wrong? Nothing. Nothing's wrong.
No.
Nothing.
I mean,
Nothing.
all right. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Okay. Nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
Uh
going to
huh.
ask you again.
Yeah.
Something. What's
That's a
wrong?
whole. That's a whole nother podcast that we could. That's a whole nother episode. We could go all over that episode.
But y'all are just as complicated, and
I
I'm like,
mean,
I literally go, what do I do?
mhm. Well, there's only so many things that you can do.
That I should do that are in a healthy manner.
You're
9
not
of them
responsible for
come.
their emotions.
No, but 9 times out of 10,
You
it's just
ask
me getting naked and laying on the bed. Boobs make
not a
everybody feel
healthy.
better.
That is true, but that is again probably not the healthy way to communicate with your spouse. Because then you're just masking it. I mean, it's a very nice mask, but you're still masking it.
I feel like they're going to be more communicative if they see my boobs.
Depends on what kind of level of communication you're looking for.
Dopamine helps. Like, I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Right. So, does that mean are you communicating enough with the community? I'm thinking you're not